Hi, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I have a new video with my Lots of Letters 2 set showing you a bunch of tips and tricks for using the triangle border and individual triangles in this set. Up until this point, all of my samples and videos with Lots of Letters 2 have been very whimsical or very bold and graphic, but I'm going to show you today how to use the triangle to give you a really elegant look and make this Harlequin pattern on this Mother's Day card, which is coming up soon. To make this project, you are going to need the Lots of Letters 2 set. I'm also using the Rose and Sentiments from one of my Stately Flowers set. I'll provide a link for that below. You're going to need some small blocks for the smaller stamps and a long block for that triangle border. You're going to need some pink and black cardstock. This is the Pure Luxury Innocent Pink and Black Onyx. I have just 2 ink pads today, the Black Onyx and the Innocent Pink, to coordinate with that cardstock. And then finally I have some Copic markers. So I've got the RV42, R05, R22, and then we've got the G85 and the G24 to color those flowers in. Stamping today over some pink cardstock. I am almost out of white except for my scraps, so until it comes in, you'll probably be seeing more stamping on colored cardstocks. So I'm going to tell you a few things about that in just a moment. Now, one thing I want to point out to you that's going to be a little bit different about your set than what you're seeing me demonstrate with here today, this triangle border is actually going to come on a base. You can see that all of the clear stamps have a base that is slightly larger than the stamp, and that gives it structural integrity, so it's going to hold up for you over time. What I did, because I had a background with rubber stamps that you could trim to your liking, I decided I wanted to cut in between those triangles and take it off of that rectangular base so that I could bend it to make banners. Now the problem with that is you're going to be removing these from the sheet and removing them from the block again and again and again. What that's going to end up doing, if you trim them, is your stamp is going to rip. It's just going to start pulling along that line and it will eventually tear, and that is what is happening to this stamp. So I will be getting a new set. I hate to show you a mistake, but I really am glad that I did this so I can warn any of you who are thinking about doing that. It's different with clear stamps, so it's still, again, this was user error on my part and not a problem with the stamp. I do want to show you though, if you would like to make a banner, since I have these individual triangles and I have a line in the set, you can make a custom curve by inking up that line, stamping it. So this is a little scrap of white that I have left over. And then you would just stamp the individual triangles. And what this also allows you to do is put different colors in between, which is actually going to be a real challenge if you were doing it with the longer border. So when your stamps come, just make sure that you keep that together as they've been produced, the triangle border. And you're also going to really like that it's all together on that rectangle, because the rectangular base, because it's going to keep it from bending, and so you'll have a really nice straight bend. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and start this background. Just go ahead and keep this pink pad open. All right, so here is my border. I'm going to go ahead and ink this up, and I'll go ahead and do it face up. Okay. And I'll show some other examples of how you can use these triangles in future videos in addition to this tip. I want to show you also, you'll see that you get a different kind of impression when you're stamping on colored cardstock versus when you're stamping onto white cardstock, and that's because the white cardstock has a really smooth finish, which is great for stamping. So just something to keep in mind. Again, it's not the ink or the stamps themselves. Okay, so you just flip it over and then line those up. And if you end up having a little bit of a space between, or you have a little bit of an overlap, that's perfectly fine, because a lot of this is going to get covered up by your sentiment and by your flowers. Okay, just a couple more. But I just love Harlequin patterns. They're so classic. They look beautiful in feminine colors with flowers for feminine cards. But also you could do this in a neutral or real earthy tone color, and that looks great on masculine cards. Okay. All right, so we've filled up our whole background. Now I'm going to stamp my rose directly over this stamped background, and you're going to see how all of these are fading out as it dries. Okay. And I love this Stately Flowers set. It has a pine cone image in it as well, and a dad sentiment. And this set is perfect for seasonal cards, but then also for stamping really feminine cards for your mom, or a really masculine card for your dad. So I like that those two images are in the one set. And I have done that in previous videos. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and color this RV42, the salmon pink, is actually a perfect match for that innocent pink that I just stamped on here. So it's just going to fade right in. You're not even going to notice after I colored it in where those triangles are. And so I just love how that looks. I haven't had to do any cutting, but it's still popping out from the background, but blending really nicely and coordinating because of those colors. Okay. Then I'm going to go in with a darker pink and just add just a little bit of shading to the underside of those petals, and then anywhere in the image that you're seeing a lot of the black lines, because those are the darker parts. And do it over here. Changing the angle just slightly since this one is tipped over where I'm putting the shadows, but it's still relatively the same places. And then finally I'll do this salmon red. So I'm going a little more coral on this card than red, but I just love these colors on the innocent pink. Okay, so just a little bit next to the darkest part. Okay, and then I'm going to go over this with green. So your colored markers work really well on colored papers. You just have to make sure that the shades that you're choosing are darker than what the cardstock is. And you also have to keep in mind a pink is actually pretty light and neutral, but if you choose, let's say, a yellow cardstock and you layer blue marker over that, just keep in mind that that's going to turn greenish. So you think about when you mixed colors in school, how those different ones are going to react. So you usually keep a cool color on top of a cool color and a warm color on top of a warm color, but the green is working on here just because the pink is so light. And then finally, I'm just going to use some of this darker green on the darkest parts of my image. Just, you can see how quickly you can blend and how effortless it is since you don't have to fill in over white. Okay, and then you would just layer that onto the black cardstock. You can see here I stamped out that sentiment, the mom and You Make Every Day Worth Celebrating. Those are actually two different sentiment stamps so that you can put them in different places, but it works really nicely together as one. And this is on a Nestabilities Spellbinders Timeless Rectangle, and then I just accented that with a few little adhesive pearls. So just a really nice, really simple, but really elegant card that you can create for Mother's Day. And you could change up this same thing and maybe change it to a brown design and put that pine cone that I mentioned and create it a really nice Father's Day card. But one last thing I'd like to show you with the smaller triangles today is on a piece of cardstock. Do it right here. Again, there's a smaller triangle in here that is perfect for accenting if you want to add in between the banner, if you want to make other accents inside those stamped triangle borders. But you can also make a mini Harlequin pattern out of this. And here I'm going to stamp off, so I'm going to put every other triangle And then you're just going to flip it, and you can go back. Oops, I almost inked it up again. But I hope this gives you some different ideas. So that would be really cute to put under, let's say, a sentiment if you just wanted a tiny border going across the bottom of a card. I hope you enjoyed this project today. I hope it gives you some different ideas for the triangles. And thank you for watching.